Hey, I'm Emmanuel, and today we are breaking down the ISO 27001 Annex A 5.16 Identity Management. Identity management. What is identity management? Identity management talks about handling user and system identities from the creation to the deletion of users. So what we are talking about here is that identity management means managing the whole life of an identity, from the moment the identity is created through all the changes to when it's deleted. And that is what we talk about, the identity lifecycle. So we have creation, modification, and deletion or deactivation. Now, in the older versions of ISO, the focus was mainly on the people that are creating accounts for employees. But in the 2022 version, they have expanded it to include entities, systems, services, and even the devices. And so we need to be able to make sure that this time around we are covering it all. And so one big shift in this standard that we need to be able to have knowledge or have a better understanding is that the standard now recognizes the multiple users or systems that might share a single ID. An example, you might find yourself in an organization where your team might have one email. It becomes one email that is being shared for multiple people. You might have your individual's email, but your team might say that, hey, we are the internal risk assessment team. And that team will use one email where if anybody wants any inquiry, they will send you an email. This time around, all those need to be covered. Now, the shift from one user or one identity to allowing shared identities in some cases is what we are talking about. Now, that said, if you allow shared IDs or extra safeguards are required, because when you are sharing accounts, it increases the risk because you don't know who is accessing the email at what time. So the main idea here is to manage the risk. We are not just following rules, but we are putting in place controls that will make sure that these cases or these specific or special cases have the right risk approach to it. Why does this matter? This matters because identity management is a preventive control, and I explained what preventive control is in our previous video, so you can catch up on that. Now, it stops unauthorized access before it actually happens. So when something goes wrong, you need non-repudiation. And what is non-repudiation? Non-repudiation talks about you can't deny that you did it, or the traceability of the actions by a user is what we call non-repudiation, or the ability to prove exactly who performed an action. That is what we call non-repudiation. So when something goes wrong, we need to make sure that we know who exactly did it and at what time. Good identity management helps you to enforce accountability and to be able to track all the actions that are reliable. And so you need to make sure that each action is tied to a specific known identity. Now, how do we go about it? Or what is the step-to-step or step-by-step implementation of this process? The first one is for you to have an approved process. Now, if you don't have an approval process, it's difficult. You need to establish a consistent process for creating, modifying, and deleting identities. Then you need to ensure that the requester is different from the one that is approving the users, so that you can have checks and balances in place. 2, you need to confirm the business need. Every new identity must have a clear purpose. So for privileged accounts, you need to add extra justification and approvals. Why do we need this? You need this because you see, every business or when there is a business need, it means that there is a reason why this job exists. Because of that, we want to make sure that every identity have a clear purpose, and not all the users are going to be the same. So they are going to be privileged accounts. If they have privileged accounts like doing approvals, you need to make sure that you are justifying why they have those privileged accounts. Then the step 3, you need to verify the person or the system. Validate the human identities and authenticate system entities. Don't just trust an email request that, hey, this is coming. No. You need to properly verify to make sure that you are confirming that the requester is legit and the requester is legitimate. Then you go to the fourth one, that is creating the identity. Only trained personnel should have or should set up identities. If you are not trained, you shouldn't be able to set up identities because you wouldn't know how to do it. Then you need to record who created the identity, who is the identity for, and what access is being granted to the person. Then the last one is where we talk about the configure and activate. You need to avoid default settings or passwords. So when you create an identity for someone, you need to give them the option that they will create their own password or change the password that have been set up for them. And align these with least privilege principles. What are the least privilege principles? Give them access to only the things that they need to be able to do their job. Other things that you also want to be able to consider when you are doing this is that you need to be able to have one ID for one person. Non-human accounts need oversight, and it needs to be able to assign to someone. You need to clean up old accounts on a regular basis, and also you need to make sure that all old accounts are being cleaned up. Then maintain consistency in the naming. Then log all key events that are happening. Track the creation of it, the changes, the deactivation that happens to one account. I hope this makes sense to you. In this session, we have talked about identity management. We have talked about how to control who can do what, and prove who did what, and when things go sideways also. If you take nothing else, remember, have a process, get approvals, keep the records, and clean after yourself. This is ISO 27001 Annex A 51.6. I'm Emmanuel. If you found this video helpful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button for more. See you in the next class.